There are mysteries in this world that defy all conventional explanation. From enigmatic rock formations that hint at lost civilizations to ancient artifacts unearthed in the heart of America, tonight we're exploring the strange and unexplained mysteries of Arkansas, evidence that challenges everything we think we know about the ancient past and may just rewrite our understanding of human history itself. Before we dive in, here's a quick note. The visuals in this video make the journey more dynamic, but they aren't necessary to enjoy the stories. You can follow along through the audio alone, perfect for playing in the background while you work, relax, or drift off to sleep with these perplexing mysteries. And if you'd like to support the channel, consider subscribing for more explorations into the unknown. Now, let's begin our journey into the ancient mysteries of Arkansas. But not all ancient mysteries are built from stone. Some are sculpted from the earth itself, silent and sprawling, their secrets hidden in plain sight for centuries. In the heart of Arkansas, along the banks of the Arkansas River, lie the Toltec Mounds. This is not a single structure, but a vast complex of earthen platforms and enclosures, built by a people known as the Plum Bayou culture over 1,000 years ago. From the ground, it looks like a series of large, grassy hills. But from above, a stunning truth reveals itself. This entire landscape is a carefully engineered astronomical instrument, aligned with the heavens with a precision that seems to defy the capabilities of its builders. How did a society without written language, without metal tools, without the wheel, achieve such a feat? And what were they trying to tell us, or perhaps tell the cosmos, with their earth and sky dialogue? The site, now preserved as Toltec Mounds Archaeological State Park, features 18 mounds arranged around two massive open plazas. The largest of these, known as Mound A, rises to a height of nearly 50 feet. It is a colossal undertaking, requiring the movement of thousands of tons of soil, all carried in baskets. But the sheer effort of construction is only part of the mystery. The real enigma lies in the arrangement. Researchers using modern surveying equipment made a startling discovery. The central axes of the plaza and the placement of key mounds are aligned to the points on the horizon where the sun rises and sets during the solstices, the longest and shortest days of the year. This solar calendar would have been crucial for a society deeply connected to the seasons, dictating the timing for planting, harvesting, and ceremonial cycles. Yet the alignments go even deeper, reaching beyond the sun to grasp the more complex cycles of the moon. The moon's path across our sky is not a simple one. It goes through a complex 18.6-year cycle of rising and setting positions. Incredibly, the architects of Toltec appear to have encoded this lunar cycle into their earthworks as well. Specific mounds seem to line up with the extreme northern and southern points of the moonrise and moonset, events known as the major and minor lunar standstills. Tracking this subtle, multi-year cycle requires generations of precise, continuous observation. It suggests a deep, sustained fascination with the cosmos, a scholarly tradition passed down through oral history for centuries. Why was tracking the moon's slow dance across the sky so important to them? Was it purely practical, or was it something more profound? The Plum Bayou people vanished centuries before European contact, leaving behind no written records to explain their motives. This silence forces archaeologists to become detectives, piecing together clues from the soil. We know they were not a massive, densely populated empire like the Maya or the Aztec. They were a smaller, more localized culture. This makes their achievement all the more astonishing. The coordination and shared vision required to plan and execute such a long-term project is immense. It speaks to a highly organized society with a powerful central ideology, likely led by a priestly class of astronomer chiefs who could read the skies. The mounds themselves were probably platforms for temples or the homes of elites, bringing them physically closer to the celestial forces they so meticulously tracked. But the how remains tantalizingly out of reach. How did they achieve such precision? Without telescopes or written mathematics, their tools were likely simple: wooden posts set in the ground to mark sight lines, observations of shadows cast at different times of year, and an immense, patient dedication to watching the sky. They were master observers, their knowledge built upon centuries, maybe millennia, of accumulated wisdom. This was a science of earth and sky, written in soil and shadow. The purpose, however, drifts into the realm of theory. Was Toltec a sacred ceremonial center where people gathered for rituals timed with these celestial events? Did the alignment serve to reinforce the power of the rulers, who could seemingly predict the movements of the heavens themselves? Or does the complex represent a grand cosmological model, a map of their universe built here on Earth? The mounds stand as silent sentinels, holding their secrets close. They challenge our assumptions about so-called simple hunter-gatherer societies and remind us that the drive to understand our place in the universe is an ancient and deeply human mystery. History is often a puzzle where the pieces don't quite fit, where a written name and an archaeological site almost, but not perfectly, align. This is the core of the mystery surrounding the Parkin Archaeological State Park in northeastern Arkansas. For decades, archaeologists have debated a compelling possibility. Is this quiet, fortified village on the banks of the St. Francis River the same place that Spanish explorers described in their journals over 450 years ago? Could this be the lost capital of the Casqui, a powerful chiefdom whose story was nearly erased by time? The evidence is tantalizing, a collection of clues that point to a dramatic moment of first contact, but a definitive answer remains just out of reach, making this one of Arkansas's most intriguing historical detective stories. Our story jumps to the year 1541, a time of immense upheaval in the American South. The Spanish conquistador Hernando de Soto led a massive expedition of armor-clad soldiers, priests, and slaves on a brutal march through what is now the southeastern United States. Their goal was gold and glory, but their journals provide the first written glimpses of the complex Mississippian cultures that thrived in the region. These chronicles, the scribes describe coming upon a powerful chiefdom called Casqui, located in a place that closely matches modern-day eastern Arkansas. The Casqui were a numerous people, living in a fortified town with a central plaza and a large temple mound. Their chief, who shared the name Casqui, was an astute political leader. The Spanish described a dramatic event where De Soto, seeing the natives worshiping the sun, ordered a large wooden cross to be erected on top of the main temple mound. He then claimed the land for Spain and for Christianity. The chief Casqui, perhaps seeing an opportunity to gain favor with these powerful newcomers, not only allowed it but embraced it, even asking the Spaniards to pray for rain for their crops. According to the chronicle, a downpour followed, which the Spanish saw as a miracle, and the Casqui saw as confirmation of the cross's power. Now fast forward to the 20th century. Archaeologists began excavating the Parkin Site. What they found was striking. It was a classic Mississippian period village, dating to the exact time of De Soto's expedition, between 1400 and 1650. It was fortified by a stout palisade wall, just as described. It had a large central plaza, just as described. And dominating the plaza was a single, large platform mound, the likely foundation for a temple or chief's house, exactly as described. The material evidence dug up from the earth also started to whisper a convincing story. Excavations uncovered Spanish trade goods, including a distinctive glass bead and a handful of iron artifacts. These were not items that could have made their way there through native trade networks. They are the undeniable calling cards of direct contact with the De Soto expedition. It seems almost too perfect. A fortified town with a large mound in the right location from the right time with physical proof of Spanish contact. Case closed. Not quite. The mystery endures because archaeology rarely provides a perfect, neat answer. While the evidence is compelling, it is not conclusive. The chronicles of De Soto's journey are often vague about distances and directions, making it difficult to pin down his exact route. Some scholars argue that other sites in the region could also fit the description of Casqui. Furthermore, the name Casqui itself has been lost to time. We don't know what the people of Parkin called themselves. The name was given to them by their neighbors, recorded by the Spanish, and then vanished from history after the expedition passed through. The social upheaval and diseases introduced by the Europeans caused the collapse of these chiefdoms within a century, severing the continuity of their history. So, we are left with an incredible coincidence, but not definitive proof. Was Parkin the capital of the Casqui? It is, without a doubt, the strongest candidate we have. The archaeological evidence and the historical narrative fit together like a key in a lock. Yet, without a stone tablet saying, "Welcome to Casqui," a sliver of doubt remains. This mystery connects a tangible, peaceful place you can visit today with a violent, world-altering moment from the past. It's a story of cross-cultural encounter, of manipulation and belief, and of a civilization that faded away, leaving behind its mounds and its name, waiting for us to finally make the connection. In the quiet, hallowed spaces of ancient burial mounds across Arkansas, archaeologists have uncovered objects of profound beauty and deep mystery. Among the most captivating are ceremonial pipes, meticulously carved from a stone that is both distinctive and sacred. But these are not made from local Arkansas stone. The material is a deep, blood-red pipestone known as catlinite, and its only known source is a single quarry in southwestern Minnesota, nearly 800 miles away. This discovery raises a fascinating and complex question. How did this precious stone, from a place so distant, find its way into the hands of the Quapaw people and their ancestors in the Arkansas Delta? Was it through a vast, ancient trade network that connected continents, or does its presence hint at a much deeper, spiritual journey that we are only beginning to understand? The Pipestone Quarry in Minnesota, now part of Pipestone National Monument, is a place that has been sacred to Native American tribes for untold centuries. The stone itself is soft and easy to carve when first extracted from the earth, hardening upon exposure to air, making it the perfect material for crafting intricate and delicate objects. The pipes made from it were not for everyday use. They were sacred items, central to rituals, ceremonies, and diplomacy. Smoking a pipe was, and still is, a way to pray, to make agreements binding, and to connect the earthly world with the spiritual one. The pipe itself was a vessel for that connection. So, the presence of catlinite pipes in Arkansas is not merely evidence of trade. It is evidence of the spread of ideas, rituals, and a shared religious tradition across a staggering expanse of North America. The most straightforward theory is one of long-distance trade. Imagine a continent-wide web of trails and river routes, connecting different cultures and communities. A precious material like catlinite could have been passed from hand to hand, tribe to tribe, in a complex series of exchanges that stretch from the upper Midwest down the Mississippi River and into its vast delta. It might have traveled for years, moving as a raw block or as a finished pipe, its value increasing with every mile it moved away from its source. The Quapaw, who were master traders and skilled artisans living at the confluence of major waterways, would have been perfectly positioned to acquire such exotic goods. They could have traded their own prized possessions, perhaps shells from the Gulf Coast, or distinctive pottery, or even salt, for the sacred red stone. But there is another, more intriguing possibility. The journey of the catlinite might not have been a mere commercial transaction. It might have been a pilgrimage. Oral histories from many Plains tribes speak of the Pipestone Quarry as a sacred and neutral ground, a place where different nations could gather in peace to extract the holy stone. Is it possible that individuals or small groups from the Quapaw Nation, or the cultures that preceded them, undertook an epic journey north to the quarry itself? This would have been a voyage of immense spiritual significance, a quest to collect the sacred material directly from its source, imbuing it with even greater power. The journey itself would become a core part of the object's story, a tale told and retold for generations. The pipe would then be not just an object, but a repository of memory and a testament to faith. The pipes found in Arkansas are often masterpieces of art, carved into effigies of animals, birds, and humans. Each one is unique, a reflection of the carver's skill and spiritual vision. Their placement in burial mounds tells us they were among the most valued possessions of an individual, items of such importance that they were chosen to accompany their owner into the afterlife. This was a final act of reverence, sealing the sacred object and its mystery underground for centuries. The presence of Minnesota catlinite in Arkansas soil is a silent testament to the fact that the ancient world was far more connected than we often imagine. It speaks of shared beliefs that transcended language and ethnicity, of journeys we can scarcely comprehend, and of a deep, abiding reverence for the objects that helped a people speak to their gods. Sometimes, the most baffling mysteries are not found in grand temples or vast earthworks, but hidden underground, waiting to be stumbled upon by accident. In the small town of Ozen in southwestern Arkansas, there lies such a puzzle, a mysterious man-made stone chamber buried beneath a field. It is a structure that defies easy explanation, a stark, subterranean room that has fueled debate for over a century. Is it a rare and unique relic of an ancient Native American civilization, a hidden colonial-era workshop, or something else entirely? With no written records and no definitive archaeological evidence, the Ozen underground chamber remains an enigma, a silent stone room keeping its secrets closely guarded. The chamber itself is an impressive feat of dry stone masonry, meaning it was built without any mortar to hold the stones together. It is dug into a hillside, with a narrow, descending entrance passage that opens into a single, rectangular room. The walls and ceiling are made of large, skillfully fitted sandstone slabs, creating a cramped but stable underground space. The construction style is what immediately sparks controversy. It doesn't neatly match the typical building methods of any known group from the region's history. This ambiguity is the heart of the mystery. Who built it, and for what possible purpose? The theories are varied, and each one presents a compelling, yet incomplete picture. One school of thought points to the possibility of an ancient origin. Could this be a ceremonial chamber, or a tomb, built by a Mississippian culture, or even an earlier woodland period society? While underground structures are not common in the region, they are not unheard of. The skill required to build a stable, dry stone vault is significant, but certainly within the capabilities of the sophisticated mound-building cultures known to have inhabited Arkansas. Perhaps it was a secluded space for rituals, a safe storage room for sacred objects, or a burial vault for an important leader. If true, it would be a truly unique and significant archaeological site, offering a completely new perspective on the practices of the area's ancient inhabitants. The other prominent theory pushes the date forward by centuries, into the colonial era. Spanish explorers were active in the region as early as the 16th century, and later, American settlers began moving into the area. Could this chamber be the work of a lone, early European settler? Proponents of this idea suggest it could have been a root cellar for storing food, a blacksmith shop designed to stay cool, or even a hideout for someone wishing to remain concealed from the authorities or from the turmoil of the Civil War. The dry stone construction technique was known to European settlers, and building into a hillside for temperature control is a practical, old-world technique. This theory makes the chamber a fascinating historical oddity rather than an ancient wonder, but it doesn't make it any less mysterious. Who was this settler, and why invest such enormous effort into this hidden project? A more tantalizing, though less likely, theory even suggests a connection to the legendary Spanish treasure, tales of hidden silver and gold mines that fueled the dreams of conquistadors. Could this have been a small, hidden mining operation or a secret cache? While exciting, there is no evidence of mining or treasure within the chamber. The truth is, without further investigation or a lucky find that can definitively date the structure, the Ozen chamber's story remains unwritten. It stands as a physical riddle, a reminder that history is not always clear-cut. It is a puzzle of stone, waiting for the one clue that will finally tell us whether we are looking at the sacred architecture of a forgotten past, or simply the pragmatic handiwork of a resourceful pioneer who wanted a quiet, cool place to work. History is not just about what remains, it is also about what has been lost. Sometimes, the most frustrating mysteries are those that vanished before we even knew to ask the right questions. In the fertile lands of the Mississippi Delta, near modern-day Blytheville, Arkansas, there once stood a significant and sprawling Native American mound complex. We know it existed not because we can study it, but because of fleeting, heartbreaking glimpses caught just before it was destroyed. This site, its name and purpose now lost to time, was systematically erased by the plow of agriculture before any proper archaeological investigation could begin. Its story is a ghost, a whisper on the wind, and a sobering reminder of how many ancient secrets have been turned to dust by progress. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, as agriculture in the Delta expanded, farmers began reporting strange, massive earthen obstructions in their fields. These weren't random hills. They were the unmistakable forms of platform mounds and burial mounds, arranged around central plazas, the classic layout of a Mississippian culture ceremonial center. Early accounts and scant notes from passing surveyors describe a sizable complex, potentially one of the most important in northeastern Arkansas. But in an era before historic preservation, these earthworks were seen not as priceless archives of the past, but as impediments to cultivating the rich soil. The drive to clear land for cotton and other crops was relentless. The process of its destruction was slow, methodical, and complete. Season after season, year after year, farmers would hit their plows against the hard-packed earth of the mounds. They would slowly, deliberately level them. The soil from the mounds was spread across the fields. As the mounds were diminished, the artifacts within were brought to the surface. Reports tell of a staggering wealth of material churned up by the plow. Exquisite pottery, elaborate stone tools, and ornaments of shell and copper were found in abundance, only to be collected as curiosities or simply discarded. With every pass of the tractor, irreplaceable context was destroyed. The arrangement of buildings, the placement of burial goods, the layers of construction that would have told the story of the site's growth, all of it was mixed into the topsoil, its narrative scrambled forever. Today, the Blytheville complex is almost entirely gone. There are no towering mounds to visit, no park to preserve its memory. It exists primarily in fragments, a handful of artifacts in museum collections, often with poor provenance, and those frustrating early reports. Archaeologists know it was there, and they know it was important, but they will never know its true scale, its precise age, or its specific role in the ancient network of chiefdoms that dotted the Mississippi River Valley. Was it a political capital, a major religious center, a trading hub? These questions will likely never be answered. The site's vanishing acts as a permanent blank spot on our map of the past. It is a profound loss, a library of earth that was burned down before a single page could be read. It stands as a silent testament to the countless other sites that met the same fate, their mysteries erased not by time, but by indifference, leaving us to wonder about the full, rich history of a region we thought we knew. Imagine a thriving, sophisticated culture, one that has built a network of prosperous towns, mastered agriculture, traded across continents, and created breathtaking art. Then, imagine that culture simply walking away from its homeland, leaving its great civic centers to be reclaimed by the forest. This is not the plot of a fantasy novel. This is the genuine historical mystery of the Caddo Nation in Arkansas. For centuries, the Caddo were the dominant culture in southwestern Arkansas and the surrounding region, renowned for their magnificent pottery and intricate social structure. Then, around the time Christopher Columbus was sailing across the Atlantic, they began a gradual but definitive exodus. By the time European explorers finally arrived in their homeland in the 16th century, the heartland of the Caddo was already silent, its great mounds abandoned. Why did they leave? What could cause a powerful, established society to voluntarily relinquish its ancestral territory? The Caddo were not nomadic, they were deeply connected to their land. Their society was complex, centered on large villages featuring central plazas and massive earthen temple mounds. They were skilled farmers, growing vast surpluses of corn, beans, and squash. They were also master artisans, producing some of the most beautiful and distinctive pottery in North America, often engraved with intricate geometric and animal motifs. Their trade network stretched for thousands of miles, bringing seashells from the Gulf Coast to the Great Plains and copper from the Great Lakes to the Mississippi Delta. This was a stable, successful, and spiritually rich culture. Their disappearance, therefore, was not a sudden collapse, but a slow-motion migration westward, primarily into what is now Texas and Oklahoma, where their descendants live today. So what prompted this great migration? Archaeologists and historians point to a confluence of factors, a perfect storm of challenges that made staying in their traditional homeland increasingly difficult. One of the leading theories is climate change. Evidence from tree rings and soil samples suggests the region may have experienced a prolonged period of droughts and unpredictable weather in the 14th and 15th centuries. For a society dependent on agriculture, a series of bad harvests could have triggered famine, social unrest, and a forced search for more reliable land and water sources. Another significant factor was likely resource depletion. Centuries of intensive farming and building, coupled with a large population, can exhaust the local environment. The nutrients in the soil can be depleted, and the once abundant forests for building and firewood can be diminished. The Caddo may have simply outstayed their environment's ability to support them in such large numbers, forcing communities to disperse and seek new beginnings in less taxed lands. There is also the possibility of social and political pressures. Perhaps internal conflict between rival chiefdoms or villages made the region unstable, or maybe external pressure from migrating groups from the east or north pushed them out. It was likely not one single cause, but a combination of all these factors, environmental, economic, and social, that led to the difficult decision to leave. They chose a strategic retreat to ensure their culture's survival. By the time De Soto's expedition marched through the region in the 1540s, they encountered only the fading echoes of the Caddo's presence, empty mounds and a few remnant communities who would soon follow their kin westward. The Caddo did not vanish, they moved on. Their story is not one of a mysterious extinction, but a deliberate and difficult adaptation. The mystery that remains is not where they went, but the precise weight of the burdens that finally convinced them to walk away from the world they had built over countless generations, leaving behind only their silent mounds and their beautiful pottery as clues to their once great civilization. High atop Petit Jean Mountain in Arkansas, amidst the stunning views and ancient geology, hikers and explorers have occasionally stumbled upon a peculiar kind of rock. These aren't just ordinary stones. They are sandstone rocks, often large and heavy, that bear strange, unmistakably human-made markings. Their surfaces are carved with precise grooves, deep channels, and sometimes perfectly drilled holes. They look like tools or perhaps components of a larger machine, but their true function is a complete enigma. Found in isolation, with no other artifacts around to provide context, these mystery stones present a frustrating and fascinating puzzle. What were they used for? And why do they appear on this mountain, seemingly disconnected from any known workshop or village? The stones themselves are the only clues we have. The markings on them are varied, but consistently deliberate. Some have long, straight grooves cut along their length, like a track or a guide for something. Others feature deep, bowl-like depressions connected by these channels. The most intriguing specimens have holes drilled through them, bored with such consistent diameter and precision that it suggests the use of a skilled hand and a dedicated tool, not just random chipping. They are made from the local sandstone, which is relatively soft to work but still requires significant effort to shape. The immediate assumption might be that they were used for grinding or processing food, like nuts or seeds, but this theory quickly falls apart. The patterns are often too complex, too specific for simple grinding. The channels would actually make grinding less efficient, funneling material away rather than containing it. So if not for food, then what? One compelling theory is that these stones were part of an ancient manufacturing process, specifically for making crafts. Some researchers have proposed they were used for straightening arrow shafts or spear shafts. A long, straight groove could hold a wooden shaft, while a smaller stone or tool could be used to roll and press it, removing any bends or warps over time. The drilled holes could serve a similar purpose, for straightening thinner rods or even for weaving, serving as a heavy loom weight to tension threads. This would make them invaluable tools for a community, yet their solitary finds are puzzling. Wouldn't a workshop have many of them? Why are they found alone? Another, more ritualistic idea is that the stones were used for the preparation of sacred substances. The channels and depressions could have been designed to mix pigments for body paint or for creating dyes for textiles. In this scenario, the careful carving might have been less about function and more about ceremony, designating a special object for a special purpose. Perhaps they were used in the creation of herbal medicines, with the grooves guiding liquids into specific containers. This would explain the care taken in their creation, but it still doesn't fully clarify their abandoned, isolated state. The most intriguing possibility is that we are simply missing the context. Maybe these stones were not meant to be used alone. They could have been key components in a larger apparatus made primarily of wood and fiber, materials that would have decayed into nothingness over the centuries. Imagine a large wooden frame that held several of these grooved stones in alignment to guide a tool, or a lever system that used them as pivot points or bearings. Without the perishable parts, we are left looking at the enigmatic stone skeleton of a machine we can no longer envision. The mystery stones of Toltec Mountain remain stubbornly silent. They are a testament to the daily, or sacred, lives of the people who lived there, a life whose intricacies we can only guess at. They remind us that sometimes the most common objects can become the deepest mysteries when their purpose is lost to time. Deep within the secluded caves and rock shelters of the Ozark and Ouachita Mountains, another layer of Arkansas's ancient mystery is painted and pecked onto the stone walls. This is the state's rock art, a gallery of images left behind by the people who lived here for thousands of years. While cave paintings and petroglyphs are found all over the world, the rock art of Arkansas has a peculiar and distinguishing feature. It doesn't look like anything else. Its styles, symbols, and motifs are completely unique to this region, forming an isolated artistic language that archaeologists are still struggling to decipher. Why did these artists develop such a distinct and insular visual tradition? What were they trying to communicate in the silent, dark depths of these caves? And why did they need a secret visual language to do it? The rock art comes in two main forms: pictographs, which are paintings made with pigments like red ochre or charcoal, and petroglyphs, which are images carved or pecked directly into the rock surface. The subjects are often familiar, human-like figures, animals like birds and serpents, and geometric shapes such as circles, spirals, and sunbursts. But it's the way these elements are rendered that makes them an anomaly. The human figures, for instance, are often depicted with highly stylized, almost surreal features: oversized hands, pronounced shoulders, or headdresses that look like radiating antennas. The compositions are unlike the detailed narrative hunting scenes found in caves in Europe or the more widespread abstract patterns of the American Southwest. This is something else entirely, a local innovation that evolved in isolation. This isolation is the first clue to the mystery. The mountainous terrain of Arkansas, while not impenetrable, did create a somewhat natural boundary. The cultures that flourished here, ancestors of the Caddo and Quapaw, were certainly connected to larger trade networks, as evidenced by foreign materials found in their villages. But their spiritual and artistic expression seems to have developed its own very distinctive path. This suggests a powerful cultural identity, a set of beliefs and stories so specific to their experience in this particular landscape that they created a unique art form to express it. The art wasn't meant to be a universal message. It was meant for a local audience who understood its nuanced meaning. The location of the art is itself a major part of the puzzle. This wasn't art made for a public plaza or a busy village wall. This was art made in hidden, often difficult-to-reach places. Reaching many of these sites requires a deliberate and sometimes arduous journey into the dark, silent underworld. This strongly implies that the creation and viewing of the art was a sacred act, likely part of a vision quest or an initiation ritual. The caves themselves were probably seen as portals to the spirit world, and the act of painting or carving on their walls was a way to communicate with powerful forces or ancestors. The unique symbols could represent clan identities, spiritual guides, or maps of the cosmos known only to the shamans or elders who ventured into these spaces. The frustrating and beautiful truth is that the meaning of these symbols likely died with the artists themselves. The cultural disruption caused by European diseases and settlement severed the continuous line of knowledge that would have passed these stories down. Today, we can only speculate. Does a spiral represent a journey into the underworld? Does a figure with large hands signify a being with great spiritual power? We may never know for sure. The Arkansas cave art anomaly stands as a powerful reminder that the ancient past is not a single, unified story. It is a tapestry of countless local traditions, each with its own rich and complex inner world. These secluded caves preserved a unique artistic voice, one that chose to whisper its secrets in a language we can no longer understand, leaving us with nothing but awe and the haunting feeling of a message just beyond our grasp. On a high, easily defensible bluff overlooking the Mississippi River in northeastern Arkansas, a powerful village once thrived. Today, we know it as the Nodena site, the capital of a formidable chiefdom that prospered between 1400 and 1650 AD. The people who lived here were master farmers, skilled potters, and formidable warriors, as evidenced by the palisade walls that surrounded their home. But the most enduring legacy of the Nodena people is also their most bizarre, a collection of effigy pottery so strange, so singular in its design, that it has never been found anywhere else in the world. These are not just simple jars or bowls. These vessels depict otherworldly creatures, haunting human figures and beings that seem to exist somewhere in between. Why did this one culture produce such a unique and specific art form? And what do these eerie figures tell us about the spiritual world of a lost civilization? The standard Nodena pottery is beautiful in its own right, featuring classic designs like the signature Nodena red and white color scheme. But the effigy vessels are something else entirely. They are three-dimensional sculptures, often taking the form of hollowed-out jars. The most famous type is the head pot, a jar sculpted into the form of a human head with shockingly individualized facial features. No two are exactly alike. Some have closed eyes, a trait that has led archaeologists to call them death pots, possibly representing ancestors. Others have open eyes, with a piercing, almost living gaze. Even more mysterious are the fish effigy pots, which combine human and pissing features into a truly surreal being. Then there are the vessels depicting strange, rotund birds and other creatures that are difficult to identify, all rendered with a distinct artistic vision that is utterly unique to this one site. The fact that these objects are found only at Nodena and a handful of immediately related sites is the core of the mystery. This wasn't a widespread style traded across the region. This was a hyperlocal tradition. This has led many researchers to propose that the pots were not made for everyday use, but for a very specific religious or cult purpose. The word cult here doesn't imply something sinister, but rather a small, dedicated group within the society focused on a particular set of rituals or beliefs. Perhaps these pots were sacred vessels used in ceremonies to honor specific deities or ancestors. The individualized head pots might literally be portraits of revered leaders or shamans, their spirits invoked during rituals. The human-fish hybrids could represent powerful water spirits of the Mississippi River, a life-giving but dangerous force that dominated the Nodena world. Another theory suggests these pots were symbols of power and elite status. In a powerful chiefdom, displaying unique, ritually charged objects would be a way for the ruling class to reinforce their authority and their special connection to the spirit world. Owning such a pot could signify membership in a secret society or a high-ranking family. Their placement as grave goods in some of the more elaborate burials at the site supports this idea. They were items important enough to accompany their owners into the afterlife. But why are the styles so confined? Was the knowledge of how to make them, or the right to use them, a closely guarded secret of the Nodena elite? Or did the spiritual ideas that inspired them simply not travel beyond the borders of this chiefdom? The Nodena people, like their neighbors, eventually vanished, likely succumbing to the waves of disease and upheaval that followed European contact. They took the meaning of their strange and beautiful art with them. These pots are now silent ambassadors from a world we can no longer enter, their haunting faces forever frozen in an expression we can see, but can never truly understand. Most tales of pre-Columbian explorers in the Americas begin with the Vikings and their sagas of reaching Newfoundland, Canada. But what if their travels took them much, much further inland? This is the extraordinary claim at the heart of a modern mystery, centered on a single, curious stone found in Bentonville, Arkansas. In the 1980s, a man named Jack Wilson was searching for arrowheads in a local creek when he overturned a rock unlike any other. It was inscribed with a series of strange, worn markings that looked like nothing native to the region. To some, these markings looked like runes, the ancient alphabet of the Vikings. This accidental discovery ignited a firestorm of debate that continues to this day. Is the Bentonville runestone genuine proof of Norse explorers in the heartland of America centuries before Columbus, or is it simply an elaborate and successful hoax? The stone itself is a roughly triangular piece of sandstone, about the size of a hardcover book. The inscriptions are carved into its face, 8 characters in a single line. The initial excitement came from those who believed they could translate these markings. Some independent researchers claim the text read GMILMED or GMILMEA, which they interpreted as med God or with God, a possible invocation for divine help. Others saw it as a land claim, a message left behind to signify that Norsemen had been there. If authentic, the implications would be revolutionary, rewriting the history of transoceanic contact and suggesting Viking expeditions traveled down the Mississippi River system over 1,000 years ago. It's a captivating story, the stuff of adventure novels. However, the academic world has largely greeted the stone with deep skepticism. The first major red flag is the provenance, how the object was found. It was not discovered in a controlled archaeological dig, where scientists could note its precise depth in the soil and what other artifacts were around it. It was found loose in a creek bed, where it could have been placed at any time in the last week or the last century. Without that context, its age is impossible to verify. Next, linguists and runologists who have examined the inscriptions point out serious problems. The characters are a confusing mix from different runic alphabets used across different centuries and regions. It's as if someone tried to write English using a random mixture of letters from the Greek, Cyrillic, and Latin alphabets. The specific sequence of runes does not form any known, coherent word in Old Norse. The consensus among experts is that the inscription is gibberish. This leads to the most likely explanation, that the stone is a hoax, but who would create such a thing and why? The motive could be as simple as a prank, or as complex as a desire for fame or to prove a pet theory. The area where it was found has a history of settlers of Scandinavian descent. The carver could have had a passing knowledge of runes from a book or family history and created the inscription without realizing their mistakes. The weathering on the carved grooves has also been questioned, with some geologists arguing the marks look too fresh to be centuries old. The Bentonville runestone remains a classic historical controversy, a battle between a thrilling narrative and hard evidence. It represents our deep desire to find connection and to discover proof that history is more exciting than the textbooks tell us. Whether it is a genuine anomaly or an ingenious fake, it continues to be a puzzle that invites us to wonder and to question what might be possible.